at 5:30, and more members may be coming, but we'll get started. Abby, you want to take roll?
Commissioner Roberts.
Here.
Commissioner Lignas.
Present.
Commissioner Wright.
Here.
Commissioner Hoyt.
Here.
Commissioner Grindle and Lorge are absent, and President Erickson.
Here. If you would join me in Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have an agenda before us. Anybody want to make any adjustments, or I'll seek an approval? Motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
A motion, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? We have an agenda. All right, next we have an open forum. Seeing no one here to speak to this body, we'll move straight into the consent agenda. We have 4 items there. Anybody want to make any adjustments, or I'll seek an approval for the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda items A through D.
We have a first. Anybody want a second?
I'll second.
All right, any further discussion? All those in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, and we have our regular agenda item, Resolution 804-2503, Forgivable Loan for 8241 North Shore Trail North. Abby, you want to speak to this?
Sure, thank you. Earlier this spring, this body approved updates to the CIIP program, the Commercial Improvement Incentive Program. And at your last meeting, you considered a number of different loans or forgivable loans to properties in the city. Since that meeting, the city did, or at that time, you elected to table consideration of one at 8241 North Shore Trail. That was for proposed parking improvements in the right-of-way associated with Pizza Pub's project. At the last meeting, you elected to table this. You wanted to see if the council was going to enter into agreement with the landowner at 8241. Since that time, the city council has approved an agreement for their installation and maintenance. The landowner has signed that agreement, indicating they're willing to pay full cost, but has wanted to still move forward with the EDA's consideration of a split 50-50 on that, up to $10,000. So prepared for you is Resolution 0804-2503, approving a forgivable loan agreement for 8241 North Shore Trail for your consideration. Do you have any questions for me?
Questions for Abby? Any discussion or?
I mean, I can say the same thing I said last time. I'll be much briefer, though. So I think in one aspect, I can see where the EDA has a role to play in public parking, and I've supported things like putting the downtown development plan together that includes parking for businesses in those aspects. I don't see how in the policy we wrote for this specific one that doing public parking fits the narrative of the directive we wrote for this program. So I would be inclined to decline this application versus approve it.
Oh. Looks like we have a member joining us. Right here, Joe. All right, so Joe, we're talking about regular agenda item 7A, resolution for forgivable loan at 8241 North Shore Trail North. Eric has spoken on it. Any other further comments or questions? Or I'll entertain a motion one way or the other.
Well, the one thing I'm thinking here is that, are we looking at the actual action of what it is, or is it somehow set up so that we can help the business, regardless of its, maintaining that easement or allowing a certain amount of parking somewhere where we shouldn't, is that any different than Ralstus putting on a new face on 61? Does it matter what exactly the action is, or does it matter if it actually helps the business? So I'd be in the other camp. I'd be in the camp of moving forward with the application.
I guess myself, I too, as, you know, member of the EDA, I think we're here to help our local businesses thrive and grow. This is a unique situation, but nonetheless, you know, it's gonna add, I think, about 10% more parking to a very tight parking space, footprint. So myself, I'm in favor of moving forward with the application. I think anything we can do to help our local businesses grow and thrive is just raises the boats for everybody.
I'm in agreement as well, because I think we've had other businesses in that spot that have suffered, you know, because of the parking situation.
The number one complaint
It
from
is,
the last 3 owners,
yeah.
not enough parking.
So I don't think it's specific to pizza pub owners, you know, specifically, but it's that spot, it's a tough spot. And I agree, you know, we want our businesses to thrive. I don't want to see that spot, you know, go empty, and I would love to see it thrive, so I'm in agreement as well. Just as excited about, you know, Rolseth getting a facelift and everything else. Love to see a few others get a facelift.
There's been a lot of activity downtown lately, which is good to see.
Yeah.
Right. Does anyone care to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve resolution 0804-2503.
A motion to approve, is there a second?
Yep, I'll second.
All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor, signal by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Opposed.
And the motion carries. So that takes us away from our regular agenda item and moving into discussion, where we'll just contemplate about 3 different topics, starting with our work plan review. Abby?
Thank you. So included in your packet, you've seen it at various times since its adoption, the 24 to 25, 26 work plan. Updated that to just kind of show much of what the EDA has sent out to do. The EDA has accomplished or has been actively working on in the last couple of years, with the exception of kind of some of their policy development, and then also some of that stuff on Headwaters 123, which the EDA and council has provided staff with some direction on. So some review of our accomplishments, you know, just kind of helps remind us all we are working, even though sometimes we have short meetings. There's people working on your behalf to try to kind of keep our your work plan going. And then also, we're going to need to update this work plan this year to really start to look at what do we want to do in the next few years. So the intent of this really was to start thinking about 26 plus. You know, 2026 plus, what do we want to do? So some of the outstanding items that I just highlighted really briefly, that policy development. Now that you've finished what I would call the easy one with the CIIP program updates, we need to revisit some of our other outstanding policies. I will say that just within the last year, I've had a better chance to review all of the EDA's bylaws and those sorts of things. We have to renew some of those documents and refresh some of those documents. They're just a little outdated from when they were first adopted in the 80s, I want to say, early 90s or something. So I'll slowly start bringing those back. The local affordable housing aid, so as a reminder, the city is starting to receive funding from the state. It's a local tax revenue source that we're getting for local for affordable housing. I talked with this body, the Planning Commission, and the council last fall of, hey, what do we want to do? As a just discussion point of topic, the Planning Commission, the EDA, and the council said, let's find partners. And staff's recommendation is we're not really the well-resourced to be spinning up new programs. And so have found agencies, public agencies, that are willing to help utilize our funding for 3 different items. One is the rehabilitation of single-family residential. The other one is the renovation and upgrade of multiple family residential. And then lastly, new affordable single-family construction. That last one, we're still kind of working through what those specifics would be, but I think we'll have agreements before the council within the next couple months at most. So then there'll be definitely some funding available to all of our residents in the form of very low interest loans to help rehabilitate their properties. The Southwest Area Study, as a reminder, that's an infrastructure phasing study. So it was looking at the Headwaters Parkway alignment that will lead to Elmcrest Avenue. And then just how do we phase out our infrastructure for kind of the here and now development and the future. It's all kind of leading to that highway business area in the southwest corner of the state, which is another large non-residential area that we'll be focusing on in the next 5 to 10 years, I'd imagine. And then Headwaters 123. Now that we don't have interest, active interest from the data center, we will be moving forward with those conversations of some sort of request for proposals or some sort of pitches from development firms to try to see if we can find a partner out there that can help us get something going on that side. So your September meeting was intended for meats and potatoes of work plan discussion, but I wanted you to start kind of thinking about, here's our work plan, what are some of the things that we want to start working on? Thus far this year, I've heard a city-owned vacant parcels analysis. So the city owns quite a number of vacant parcels of land, many of them in resident or non-residential areas. Really taking a look at what are those parcels, what should we be marketing them for? The development of a convention and visitors bureau, development at Fenway Park, comprehensive community marketing plan, a revolving loan program creation, and then some sort of land use analysis. And a couple of these were mentioned to me in passing, don't really know necessarily what their thoughts were. So it's my goal to combine these items, outstanding work plan items, 2040 comprehensive plan items, as well as anything else that's kind of been brought up by any agency partners, the CEDA or chamber, kind of host another kind of roundtable discussion. What do we think we want to work on? How do we prioritize these? This discussion is also in advance of City Administrator Stotts wants to have a strategic work planning session with the City Council this year, I think probably after the adoption of the preliminary budget. And so this will kind of help feed into some of those conversations as well to see that Council and the EDA are well aligned in what the EDA can do to help further the council's goals. So we got plenty of time. We can talk about this tonight. But the whole goal was to kind of bring this back before you to say, oh yeah, okay, we are working on things, but we're getting close to the end of our work plan. What are some of the things we want to work on? I'm happy to take any ideas right now and just kind of keep that list running, or you guys think about it and be prepared for good conversation next month.
All right, thank you, Abby. Great overview. Does anybody have any initial ideas or things they want to call out that are in addition to the list that Abby gave us?
President, a question for Abby. This goes back to the EDA policy review, the tax increment financing. Do we feel comfortable enough that we have something in place if someone were to approach us today that we could move forward?
We don't have great. The policy development really needs attention more than anything. Our business subsidy policy, I can't actually find the last, what I would say, adopted TIF policy was specifically designed at the time that the city was assisting what was formerly Team Vantage. So the policy was very much tailored for a specific project, which isn't necessarily a good idea. It's good to be looking at them when you don't have a specific project. So we have a policy in place. I wouldn't say it's probably the most comprehensive.
So a more current project, though, might be Lighthouse Lofts. Is there something around that that you've seen?
I think there was a TIF agreement, but whether or not there was any sort of policy at the time adopted, I don't know. I'll go back and look. The last time it looks like we adopted a TIF policy, though, was at the time of that former Team Vantage development.
Would that policy that was developed for the Team Vantage, would have that been a guiding document in the creation of this agreement for
Correct.
Ladislaw's.
Yes, correct. That should have been what the EDA and the council used at that time. I can't necessarily say they did, though.
So I think with that, that would, I think, be a priority that we should look at, is get that in place as soon as possible, so we just don't know when someone's gonna approach us, and I'd hate to be able to, or not be able to move forward, or be hesitant to move forward without something, updated there.
Great idea. Other ideas, or you want to come back with a more robust list of ideas in September?
Well, I don't know, it kind of came up when we were talking about, when we did have someone approach us on the Headwaters 1, 2, 3. We have that right?
1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3, okay. It sounded funny when I said it, but, and we had the discussion first, and then you had mentioned that we had maybe an offer on the table. And it was good because the overall consensus in the end was, you know what, we really wanted to make sure that it was the right partner to fulfill a cohesive plan across what we want to do. So, I mean, I know we have the overall development plan, but, what is that cohesive plan going, across, and just, I mean, it's been a while, and what do we want to look at anything and review? And for me, it's hard to connect the dots, and maybe, I don't know if this is for anyone else, but just even with park, and you that are on the city council, you see more of it, but just the parks and rec, and how does that all come together in one cohesive plan? Just to make sure that we're making the most of, if we're looking at, city-owned property, and so that it all fits together, and we're all thinking of, just being innovative with, hey, this property's available, maybe that's a dog park. Or, you know what I mean? And likely you are, because you're hearing more of what's going on in those other committees. And maybe that's just not me not knowing what's going on in the other committees, but I always feel like there might be some connections that could be made. So I guess it just made me think of that conversation that we had, and knowing what the big picture is, and making sure that any development that we're considering fits into a good vision, because I think in the past there necessarily hasn't been a good overall vision of what we want for the city.
So it sounds like you're saying sometimes it feels like we're a little siloed in terms of
Right.
our priorities.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, and I think, part of Administrator Stotts' goal in pulling the council, in doing that more, was he referring to the
Strategic
strategic
plan.
planning?
Yeah,
Will certainly feed into that for sure.
I love that. And the idea about the, I don't remember what his term was for it, but in the past, in other work projects I've had, it's like a fast start, fast finish, or like that low cost, but make a difference projects. I don't remember, he had mentioned it in something recent that.
In the
that-
downtown plan, we definitely talked about what are catalyst projects, yes, there's
Yeah, like
titles
it's
for
low
them.
cost, but still makes a difference in the look and feel and the vibe. I love that. I mean, that's perfect. Those type of things too, and maybe there are some things that we can consider that would be like quick wins, or that can just make things move along a little bit, so.
Thank you. Yes.
My idea might be more appropriate for 2026, but I would like the EDA at some point in that year perhaps to start to review things for our next comprehensive plan that are very specific to redevelopment, understanding is our zoning appropriate in these areas, are our regulations appropriate in those areas, are areas of the city that we have targeted for business growth, whether it's the southwest corner or the section north of 8, or I think we extended it a little bit up 61, and kind of having that conversation of what is our long-term vision, and perhaps 2026 is most appropriate for that, but.
Yeah, I think Commissioner Langness's comments definitely kind of help support maybe Commissioner Grindall's concerns of sometimes the work of any of our commissions can feel isolated from other bodies. And so how does it all fit together? We do have the 2040 comprehensive plan that this fall we will start the comprehensive planning update process. It's a Met Council requirement that we update that document every 10 years. The kickoff this fall is when the Met Council issues us, here you go cities, here are your orders to update this over the next several years. The kind of timeline of that, though, will end up being through 26 through 28, where there definitely will be a lot more integration between the commissions, community, and so I think that'll help kind of help that overarching big picture. I think definitely for the conversational work plan update, I can pull together documents for this body that looks at all the existing comprehensive plan chapters and says, okay, here are the things we said we would do, and kind of where we're at with them, or how does it integrate with EDA work, so you can kind of get a baseline. I don't know how much of that I'll actually have prepared in one month, but I can get you quite a bit of that, I think, that gets your idea, your mind starting to think big picture, long range. The strategic plan for the council really is more, so that comprehensive plan is, we plan for 20 years, we update every 10. So we're thinking of the Forest Lake of 2050, right, in our comprehensive plan. Strategic plan is really looking 3 to 5 years. What is it gonna, how does the council wanna keep moving forward? And a lot of times those strategic plans will take things from the comp plan to try to keep moving us forward towards meeting some of those comprehensive plan goals. So I think it's starting to all meld together a little bit, but I think that's definitely a good point, Commissioner Langness, that there will be items that this body will be reviewing related to the comprehensive plan update process.
Yeah.
One other thing in here that's mentioned, I would be curious to know if we could get that analysis of the city-owned parcels, because there are other cities that sell these properties, put it in their EDA account, and then if there's opportunities, if there's a project potentially, say downtown, to use those funds to help purchase some land, to help spur development. So it'd be nice to know that, and that we, like we did, where this previous board did with Spikes and Holes, sold that piece of land. So if there's other pieces out there that there might have some interest, and we can start accumulating some money to be able to go buy other parcels, if it makes sense, I think is also a priority.
Yeah, I'm glad to see that's on the list, as well as the Convention and Visitors Bureau. And then, so I just forgot. But you had it on your list, so.
Yeah, I have all those items that we've kind of already been brought up to me in passing. I think at our next meeting, kind of expanding on what those are, how long we think they would take. Some of this is other agencies, right, get involved, so. One thing I did want to just follow up on that I'm not sure if I ever let the EDA know. I did go to, after the sale of the 280 Broadway property happened, I did bring the council for direction. So it was council-owned land, but we facilitated the sale through the EDA. And the reason we facilitate the sales through the EDA is the EDA can put restrictions on properties in ways that the council can't. So with 280 Broadway, we had put in the clawback provision. If they don't develop it in XYZ amount of time in this fashion, we have the right to take that property back. Council can't do that. So technically the EDA sold the land, but it was the council's land. And so I went to the council and said, hey, what do we do with this money? And the council directed staff that with land sales, the council thought that it was most appropriate to put the proceeds into the EDA's fund up to $100,000, if I remember right. So all of those proceeds did go into the EDA's fund balance. One of the policies that I have currently is not in our work plan, but it's intended for me to bring up to you, is just developing a policy for how we use those funds. You know, if one project, if we've got $300,000 sitting in it right now, and one project comes in and says, can I have $299? Are we sure we want to spend all the whole kit and caboodle. So bringing forth creating a policy just around the use of those, I think is good, right? It's just good, transparent public practice. They are public dollars, so. That's something that I'll be at least bringing up next week, right, or next month this is something staff's recommending we actually develop.
Well-
So that's the idea, I think, is think about those big ideas, or even small ones. It might not be right now. Our work plan might expand to 3 years, even to 5 years. But the idea is, let's throw it all out there. Let's pick the top 10, 12, something, or let me take some time with it to see if can we get the most of it accomplished in the next few years. The work plans are really nice, I think, for all of us to kind of say, yeah, we are doing stuff. We might have quick meetings, might be chatting a lot, but we are actually doing some things, so.
Just a quick follow-up on that, is we developed that policy. I've just had a chance to engage with some other public leaders from other communities, and, they shared ideas of, don't be afraid to build a balance so that when opportunity arises, you have the ability to take that action. And so, it's probably not something that past councils or commissions have thought about, but, I'd like to see that kind of considered as we develop that policy. And then the third thing, I think you mentioned it quickly, was around marketing. And, that's going to local conferences or what have you, so that definitely want to make that a part of our conversation. Anything else for Abby? Otherwise, we can move on to item 8B.
If I can just say, if at all between now and the next meeting, there are things you think of, feel free to shoot me an email or something you're like, I'll never remember this at the next meeting. I'm always happy to pull all this stuff together. I always think the more we can have in the staff memo beforehand, we'll try to do a little bit of brainstorming, but a lot of times our brains we've kind of thrown a lot of it out there. So if you just get random ideas, feel free to shoot them over to me. If you don't have my cell number, you can always text me too. I can give that to you after the meeting, so.
Excellent. Thanks, Abby.
Yep, thank you.
Let's move forward to 8B, our meeting schedule.
All right, so we adopted a new meeting calendar earlier this year. And when we did that, we moved us to that first Monday of the month. The hope was that we would have more time to work on things. I know our meetings are often short, but the goal is, as we bring on more staff in my department, that we do have more time to work on projects and activities and all the things. But we have a lot of Monday conflicts that we didn't account for. So next month in September is Labor Day. Right now, other than work plan discussion, which could wait until October, we don't have anything, so we could cancel that meeting. But that being said, the biggest question I have for you is, how do you want to address this in months where we have a holiday? Do we want to move it to a different day of the month? Do we want to move it to a different day of the week? Or do we want to cancel them? I would not recommend wholesale canceling. A different Monday doesn't really work because the council's gobbled up all those other Mondays. So my recommendation would be to consider a different day of the week, either Tuesdays or Thursdays are the least conflict for us.
I like the idea of just penciling in the Tuesday after, and then like you said, if we don't have anything pressing on the agenda, then.
We can always cancel it. That's currently what the council does, and so I didn't want to assume that, but I wanted to run that by everyone before.
Thanks.
And then if anybody had, the first Tuesday of the month, I know that I can't, well, that doesn't sound like that's the issue, though. Okay.
Yeah, and I'd prefer Tuesday over Thursday.
Okay.
All right. Member terms.
Commissioner Lorge asked me to bring this up at our last meeting to look at the terms of everyone for the remainder of the year. So I did include this in the staff memo, which did show, give me just a second here, folks. We have 4 vacancies this year. One of them is Council Member President Erickson's seat, which is appointed by the council. So I don't want to say that one doesn't count because it's not a true 6-year term. He gets reappointed, or a person from the council gets reappointed every year. But otherwise, Commissioner Lorge, Commissioner Wright, and Commissioner Grindal. So both Jill and Jonathan were serving unexpired terms of other members. So we kind of gave you your, here's a little bit of this body. Do you think you want to stick around? Because these are long terms, they're 6-year terms. And then I think Commissioner Lorge did also say she was interested in continuing to serve. But I think having this conversation early, knowing that we could have 4 vacancies at the turn of the year, it's good to hear from commissioners, and you don't have to state it right now. You could always reach out to President Erickson, or even in a different capacity, Mayor Roberts, to talk about your interest and your long-term serving, but for us to be able to have those conversations, even if it's not in this meeting, we'd rather know now so that we could start looking to see if we can find other people to fill those terms. So I think I put in there, feel free to discuss it. Feel free to discuss it if you want. If you're like, hey, I don't know right now, I'll get back to you. But Jill or Jonathan, that's just fine. But I wanted to at least bring this to the body before our terms just all of a sudden sneak up on us.
Is there a reason that 4 of the people expire in the same year and it wasn't staggered more, or is there something we could do about that? Because I feel like that's a huge administrative, like, oversight maybe to have to deal with 4 people potentially changing out in 1 year.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, the 3 of them are, I mean, one of them, I'm appointed, so it's kind of a mute, but yeah, 3 are in 25, and then the next one's not till 27, and then 30.
That is odd. I can double check that with our administration just to see if we've had a number of staffing changeovers. So, you know, just the tracking on that to see whether or not this is 100% accurate. I assumed it was. Just double check that there isn't something there that I might be wrong, because I would have assumed we would have staggered them a little better. But.
So, is it, I mean, that is in President Erickson's case here, he has to be, or someone from the council has to be reappointed each year? Is
Yes.
that how it?
Yes, council appointments are every year. I'd have to look at that. If the bylaws are they're appointed until their term fills or not, I can double check that. I think it's an annual thing, though. Your position as mayor is automatic, so the bylaws indicate the mayor and 1 person from the council shall be on the EDA.
Yeah, so if you guys have any thoughts, the earlier, if you didn't, me personally would love to have everyone remain on, but there's a change for some reason, more of a heads up so we can get, I hate going into a year and it's March before we have a full, commission in place, whether it's this commission or planning or anything, so better, the more the heads up, the better.
Well, and to be honest, I mean, I guess I didn't really even know this, that I was replacing another person, and like Chris and I started at the same time, so I guess I kind of assumed that we were on the same rotation or, expiration.
I think Chris replaced me, because I was on the EDA before I was elected to council.
Yeah.
And so I think he would have taken over my seat.
And I probably didn't include his notes in here just because his term wasn't expiring, but that is very common.
Yeah, according to
But I
this, we
think
were
the 2 of us. Oh, a couple weeks apart.
11 days apart.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I wasn't looking at the initial date.
I'll
so-
double check all those dates, or I'll have our clerk's office double check all those dates. But regardless, I'm assuming that the term expiration is coming up. Think about it.
My point in saying that, I guess, was that I wasn't really aware that it wasn't any different than what Chris is, so
Sorry,
if,
but we
I can
filled- we
extend
filled-
mine to that, if that's, for
We
everyone.
filled in existing, or you did,
Yeah,
for Hantash.
right.
She finished her term, even though we started at the same time.
Mhm.
Yeah, Judy moved. It wasn't expired. She just moved out of the city, so that's why.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. I can update that record too.
So I'm fine with continuing, and just if it's, you know, to match, I mean, I don't know what the protocol
Oh,
is
we
or what
see-
the proper
we see what the
protocol is, but-
bylaws say
yeah,
about the-
exactly.
The different
Okay.
terms, but, yeah.
Yeah, we'll take a look at that and also see if potentially there's that option, if this is true, that 3 of the 4 are expiring, with the one just being an annual reappointment, what we can do to potentially stagger those out some, so that we're not having such a, essentially a quorum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is,
Mhm.
is really a big thing if all of a
3
sudden,
new people in 1 year could be
yeah,
harder for agendas to get,
yeah. Yeah.
maintain the momentum, so.
Excuse me a moment.
We
I
do it
think you
all
can
here.
Carry on.
Well,
It's your Prime Day package.
yeah, right.
I'm fine continuing to serve.
Okay, awesome. Awesome. Well, just updates, we'll wait for Abby.
I've never had that happen. I have no updates. I know I met earlier with Chris Eng. He didn't have any updates either. And then Nanette had emailed me late in the day, said that she's very interested in hearing the discussion. She's looking forward to work plan updates, Chris is as well, but wasn't able to make it, so.
Do you have any idea if they'd be available on the first Tuesday in September?
I can check with them to see if they'd end up having conflicts before we actually would adjust that meeting calendar.
Yeah, be
So.
great to have them. Any other updates? Yes,
I just had one comment on the EDA member terms. I apologize, I didn't catch it in as she was walking out. One other thing I would like to see is that the term expirations be shifted from the last day of December to the last day of January. I think that that is really ideal when you have elections that turn over a council, that we have committees that are still established for that first month while they're appointing any replacements. So I don't know if that's possible in the bylaws, Abby, or why we have different ones for different members,
Yeah.
but
Well, and I will say, you know, I found this in our clerk's files. We've had a number of clerking changes just in these, you know, since these appointments have happened in these last few years. And so it could be as simple as the date might be 1/31/2026, but I will look.
great catch, thanks. Any other updates from the body? All right, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
so moved.
Second? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned.